And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I'm your host, Demo, and it's time for another Commander Quick Brew from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. And we're starting out this time with Saryth the Viper's Fang. 2 green, human, warlock, 3/4. Other tapped creatures you control have Death Touch. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Other untapped creatures you control have hexproof. Nice. Pay 1 and untap another target creature or land you control. So, lots going on here. I really like this commander a lot. I haven't been excited about a lot of these commanders that have been coming out recently. This is one that I think is pretty interesting because there is a lot of ways you can go with it. Tapped creatures you control have Death Touch. That's fantastic. Obviously, that's going to be your attackers, right? You're going to want to avoid putting creatures with vigilance in this deck, which I don't think should be too difficult because you want to attack with your creatures. They're going to get Death Touch, and then you can swing with them. I would also put a lot of fight effects in here. You know, green's not great at creature removal, but fighting with Death Touch is one way you can deal with it. That's what I do in my Questing Beast deck. I put a lot of fight effects in there because I have lots of Death Touch creatures. Other untapped creatures you control have hexproof. Of course, the important note here is this is other creatures. Your commander isn't going to have hexproof being untapped or have Death Touch being tapped. So just having all your creatures that are untapped have hexproof is also fantastic because now I can put creatures in there like maybe a Collector Ophi that my opponents are going to want to remove. It's just going to sit there. I'm not going to attack with it. It's going to have hexproof, so it's going to be really difficult for my opponents to get it off the table. Also just great. So already we're just in a really good creature deck here. You know, again, you're going to want lots of creatures in this deck. Obviously, this is a super creature heavy deck. I'm going to be swinging with my creatures a lot. I'm going to be connecting a lot because my creatures have Death Touch, so I'm going to want to put like a Toski in here. I'm going to want to put Nature's Will in here because I'm going to be connecting a lot. Like I said, putting any creatures in here that our opponents might want to get off the table is going to be good because they'll have hexproof. And then you can pay 1 and tap your commander to untap another target creature or land you control. That's just a great ability on its own. For me, I would probably build around that ability more than anything else. You know, a Gaia's Cradle is going to look pretty fantastic in this deck. It's going to look pretty fantastic in any mono green deck. But in particular, paying 1 to untap it so you can use again is going to be ridiculous. If you can't afford one of those Circle of Dreams Druid is also going to be great. You can untap that to get more benefit from it. There are lots of creatures in green that you might want to be untapping to use them again. I mean, you can also use this to untap a creature and give it hexproof if it's tapped. So if your opponent's about to remove a creature, you can untap it, give it hexproof, and now it becomes immune to that effect. Obviously, that's where they were going with this ability, but for me, I'm going to build around that last ability of I'm going to be untapping things that I really, really want to tap again. Just a really great build around commander here because you're doing so much. I'm getting in for damage with my creatures because they have Death Touch. I have creatures in this deck that I don't want to get removed and they're going to have hexproof and I'm not going to attack with them. And then I'm going to put some stuff in this deck that I want to be untapping and using again. Great commander. Next up, Sigarda, Champion of Light. 1, a green, a white, and a white. So we have another Sigarda. Of course, it's an angel and it's a 4/4, has flying and trample. Humans you control get +1/+1. So obviously we're in a human tribal theme here. Has Coven whenever Sigarda attacks. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a human creature card from among them and put it into your hand. The rest on the bottom of your library in random order. So we're in a human tribal theme here, no question. Our commander's an angel though, so maybe we're in a little bit of a human and angel tribal theme. There is actually quite a few cards that deal with humans and angels. There's angels that benefit humans and so forth. So all of those kinds of cards I think would probably go in this deck. We want to be using that ability though, that Coven ability. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, when Sigarda attacks, you can look at the top 5 cards of your library and put a human creature card into your hand. So we have our commander that's a 4/4, so we need 2 other creatures and they have to have different powers. And they can't be 3/3s, right? Because our commander is going to make them a 4/4, so that's going to cancel out the ability. So I guess we probably want as many creatures as we can that have a 1 or 2 power. I doubt you're going to get as high as 5, so we're going to be in the 1, 2, and 0 range. So we're going to want as many humans in this deck that have a 0, 1, or 2 power that we can take advantage of that ability with. Lenore Autumn Sovereign, which I just talked about before, is a human, has that Coven ability, has the 0 power, so that's obviously an auto include in this deck. It's doing everything we want to be doing. You know, I don't know if the Sigarda goes in the Lenore deck because you might not necessarily be doing human tribal there, but I think definitely Lenore goes in the Sigarda deck, no question. It's doing everything we want to be doing. doing. Again, just like with the Werewolf Commander though, there's not a ton to talk about here because we're just playing a human tribal deck, right? So you're just going to go through, look at all those white and green humans, find all the good ones, but also try to find as many as you can that have either that 0, 1, or 2 power so that we can get that Coven trigger as much as we possibly can. And lastly today, Jadar, Ghoulcaller of Nephalia, 1 and a black human wizard, 1/1. At the beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. So this definitely is not a super overwhelming ability here, okay? It's a cheap commander though. I like that. It only costs 2 mana. You can get it out right away. Has that trigger on the end step, which I love. I really like cards that give you that trigger on the end step so you can get something out of them right away rather than waiting until your next turn. So if you control no creatures with Decayed, you're going to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. So you're going to get that token as long as you don't have another Decayed token or any other creatures with Decayed, but obviously you're going to avoid putting any cards in this deck that have stuff that gives Decayed because that's going to work against what you're doing. So we'll just assume that there is nothing else in this deck that gives creatures Decayed. So essentially what's going to happen is if we don't already have that black zombie creature token, we're going to make one. And of course, Decayed means it can't block, and whenever it attacks, sacrifice it at the end of combat. So what we can do is we can get that zombie token on our end step. On our next turn, we can swing with it. It'll get sacrificed at the end of the combat, and then we'll just get another one. The best way to go about this deck, though, you can be in a little bit of a zombie theme here. Anything where you have a zombie entering the battlefield is going to be good because you're guaranteed getting that zombie entering the battlefield at the beginning of your end step every turn. But we want to get rid of that zombie, right? So more importantly, though, I think you're in a sacrifice theme here where I'm getting that zombie token every turn that I can just sacrifice, right? Lots and lots of things out there that I can sacrifice these zombie tokens to. So for me, this is just a sacrifice theme. I play my commander, I immediately get that zombie token on my end step. On my next turn, I sacrifice it to my Vampiric Rites or some other effect, my Ashnod's Altar, whatever the case may be, and then it's just going to get replenished on my end step again. The fact that it's a zombie can be a little beneficial. There definitely is some things that you can add to that effect. So if I have a Crypt Breaker in this deck, for example, you can tap 3 untap zombies and draw a card and lose a life. So my Crypt Breaker is going to be 1, the zombie token is going to be another. Then I just need 1 more zombie. So maybe go in a little bit of a zombie theme here because your commander is always going to be guaranteeing you have a zombie. So I would go probably slightly a zombie theme and then a sacrifice theme as well. A zombie theme works with a sacrifice theme, so it's all going to be synergistic. I think it's going to work out great. It's not an overwhelming ability. This is definitely an underwhelming commander, no question. I like that it's cheap. I like that I can pay 2 mana, get going right away. Are there better mono black sacrifice commanders? Maybe. Are there better mono black zombie commanders? Probably. But I really like this one just because it's 2 mana. I can get it right away, and then I can just start going to work. Another commander quick brew, 3 more Innistrad Midnight Hunt commanders. What are you going to do with them? There's some ideas to start those brew juices flowing. But that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.